Sirens, helicopter blades, the sound of tires screaming against asphalt. The camera of every news drone locked onto one car, a black Dodge Challenger tearing through the night like a beast set loose. Police radio, suspects going 120 on Highway 14, requesting chopper backup, pilot, visual confirmed targets swerving through traffic, sparks on the left rear tire, and then the flash of headlights, pure chaos. Every cop in the county was chasing him. Every camera was watching him, and the entire neighborhood was watching me because that wasn't just any stolen car. That was my car, my Dodge Challenger, and the thief behind the wheel, the one being hunted by half the state, was HOA Karen's son. The same spoiled kid who once threatened to teach me a lesson. The same kid whose mother thought she owned every inch of our street. Now he was running from cops, from helicopters, from everything she built to protect him, and it was all coming down live. Engines roared, sirens wailed. The camera zoomed in as the Challenger cut through an intersection, almost clipping a semi-truck. And somewhere between the chaos and the static, I heard the dispatcher's voice. Suspect heading northbound Maplewood Estates, resident confirmed vehicle reported stolen by homeowner. That was the moment everything flipped. Because when the world realized who he was, this chase became more than a crime. It became a reckoning. The night before it happened, the neighborhood looked perfect, too perfect. Maplewood Estates always did. Every lawn trimmed to the same height. Every mailbox painted the same color. Every driveway lined with rules written by one woman. Karen Turner, HOA president, self-proclaimed queen of the cul-de-sac. She ran that place like a dictator in pearls, and I was the outsider, the one who didn't play by her rules. When I bought my home there 6 months ago, I thought peace and quiet would finally be mine. A new start, a fresh road, but I didn't realize the road already belonged to someone else. Karen had her eyes on everyone, cameras on every streetlight, binoculars by her window, fines for everything. Too many plants, fine. Garage door open too long, fine. Park your car on the curb for 5 minutes, fine. And my Dodge Challenger, the matte black beast I rebuilt with my own hands, she hated it. Too loud, too aggressive, too unneighborly, as she called it. She once stood at the end of my driveway, clipboard in hand, and said, "This car doesn't fit the image of Maplewood Estates." I'd laughed. Maybe Maplewood needs a new image. From that moment on, war began. She sent letters, called noise complaints, even filed a report saying my car was a public disturbance. But the one who really burned with hate wasn't her, it was her son, Tyler, 20 years old, spoiled, reckless, the kind of kid who thought the world owed him something because his mom ran the HOA. He used to rev his old dirt bike right in front of my driveway, smirking. Once, when I told him to cut it out, he leaned in and whispered, "You'll regret ever moving here, man. Nobody defies my mom." I didn't take him seriously until that morning, 5:42 a.m. The sound of thunder ripped through the stillness. My Challenger, my pride, my work, my blood roared to life. At first, I thought I was dreaming. Then came the scream of tires, the echo of power. I knew better than my own heartbeat. I ran to the window, and there it was. My garage door half open, smoke curling from the driveway, and the black silhouette of my car disappearing into the fog. I sprinted outside barefoot, heart slamming in my chest. "Hey!" I shouted into the morning air, but the roar of the engine swallowed my voice whole. For one split second, when the taillights flared under the street lamp, I saw his face. Tyler, Karen's son, hood up, smirk wide, one hand on the wheel like he owned it. He looked right at me, and he winked. That wink was gasoline on fire. I ran to the garage. The lock was pried open, the spare keys gone. The camera wire cut clean. He'd planned this. He'd studied every angle. By the time I grabbed my phone, the sound was already fading. Then, 2 blocks away, sirens, dispatch, all units be advised. Black Dodge Challenger heading eastbound, speeds exceeding 100, vehicle reported stolen. I froze. That was my car. That was my life on the line. Within minutes, my street filled with flashing lights. 2 patrol cars, then 3. Neighbors poured out of their homes, bathrobes, slippers, phones recording. And right in the center of it all stood Karen, pretending to be shocked. "Oh my God," she screamed. "What happened? Who would steal a car here?" but I saw the tremor in her hands, the twitch in her jaw. She knew. I marched toward her. "Your son just stole my car." She flinched, then quickly put on her usual calm, fake smile. "My son, don't be ridiculous. Tyler's asleep." "Then wake him up." I snapped. Because the cops are already chasing him, the police officer stepped between us. "Ma'am, is your son home right now?" Karen hesitated, her lips pressed tight. "Of course he is. He wouldn't." Then her phone buzzed. She looked down, the color drained from her face. Whatever she saw on that screen made her step back like she'd been punched. The officer snatched the phone gently from her hand. A live news feed was already rolling helicopter footage, showing a black Challenger racing down the interstate, tailed by 5 patrol cars. News anchor on phone: "We're following breaking news, a high-speed chase involving a stolen Dodge Challenger, believed to be connected to the Maplewood Estates community." Karen's eyes darted to me. This must be some kind of mistake. But the truth was already screaming across every screen in the county. The HOA president's son was running from police in my car. The next hour felt like a lifetime. Police scanners blared, officers coordinated on radios, neighbors whispered, "That's Karen's boy." Karen herself tried to call someone, maybe her lawyer, maybe her husband, but her voice cracked every time. Then came the radio crackle that made my stomach drop. "Suspect just passed County Line 12, speeds exceeding 130, chopper requested, deploying spike strips." I could hear it from where I stood, faint but distinct, the roar of that engine echoing off the hills, the sound of rubber against rage. And then boom, an explosion of static through the radio. "Dispatch, suspect hit debris, vehicle still mobile but smoking. Helicopter visual confirmed." Everyone turned their eyes skyward as the distant thump of helicopter blades rolled across the neighborhood. Karen clutched her robe tighter, whispering, "Please, don't let them hurt him." But no one answered. The cameras, the sirens, the flashing lights, they weren't protecting her anymore. They were revealing her. Because in that moment, the entire HOA, the empire she built on fear, control, and fines, was cracking right in front of her white picket fence. And I stood there, barefoot on the cold pavement, staring at the fog where my car once disappeared, knowing one thing for sure: this wasn't just about a stolen car anymore. This was about everything she'd taken from everyone. The fear, the arrogance, the power, and tonight, the universe decided to take it all back. The sun hadn't even risen, yet Maplewood Estates was wide awake, flashing lights, cameras, reporters, and chaos rolling down the street like a storm that refused to pass. The blue and red strobes painted every perfect white fence with guilt. Karen's kingdom, her spotless lawns, her perfect hedges, her endless rules now looked like a crime scene, and she stood right in the middle of it. Bathrobe, trembling hands, and the look of a ruler watching her empire burn. 2 police cruisers blocked her driveway while a 3rd officer kept his radio pressed to his ear. The helicopter overhead was already circling farther north, following the stolen Challenger. The noise of its blades echoed over every house, a constant reminder that this wasn't just a neighborhood problem anymore. It was national news. Police dispatch, suspect confirmed as 20-year-old male, resident of Maplewood Estates, vehicle identified as black Dodge Challenger, speeds exceeding 120, officers in pursuit. The words hit like gunfire. Every neighbor froze. Everyone knew who that was. Karen's jaw tightened. This is absurd. Tyler would never do this. But her act was slipping. Her voice cracked. Her eyes darted between the cops, the cameras, and the phone still streaming live coverage of her son flying down the highway. I stepped forward, arms crossed, still shaking with anger and disbelief. "You're watching it, Karen. That's my car. That's your son. It's not what it looks like." She snapped. "He's just scared. You've been harassing him for months." I laughed, but it didn't sound human. "Harassing? You mean asking him to stop trespassing? Asking you to stop fining me for parking my car in my own driveway?" The officer beside us cleared his throat. "Ma'am, we're going to need a recent photo of your son for ID confirmation." Karen hesitated, clutching her phone tighter. "This is all being blown out of proportion. My son is a good boy. He's just misunderstood." But behind her, the giant TV in the news van blared, "Anchor, suspect weaving through traffic, narrowly avoiding collisions. Police deploying stop sticks near exit 14. The live aerial feed showed the Challenger drifting across 2 lanes, tires smoking, one already starting to shred. Sparks flew like fireworks. A reporter turned to the camera, his voice urgent. We are now learning that the suspect may be the son of a local HOA president, sources identifying the community as Maplewood Estates. Every head turned toward her. Karen froze, her perfect smile gone, her composure shattered, and in that single camera flash, the Queen of Maplewood became what she feared most, a scandal. She tried to run back inside, shouting, "Turn those cameras off. This is private property." But no one listened. Even the officers were too focused on their radios. Officer 1, we have chopper visual, suspect refusing to pull over. Officer 2, spike strip deployed, exit 14 in 3, 2, then a crash through the radio. Tires screaming, metal grinding, the sound of impact, dispatch, suspect hit the median, vehicle still mobile, continuing northbound. Karen gasped like the world had stopped, her knees buckled. She whispered, "Please, please don't hurt him." But there was no pity in the officer's eyes anymore. Just procedure, just law. Because they'd seen this too many times, a spoiled kid, handed everything, thinking rules were suggestions. One officer stepped away, talking quietly into his mic. "We've got backup from Highway Patrol. If he doesn't stop, we'll use PAD authorization." PAD pursuit intervention technique. A polite term for spinning someone's car into the ground. Karen heard it too. "No, you can't do that, that's my child." Her voice was desperate now, cracked porcelain instead of polished glass. But the world didn't stop for her anymore. Neighbors watched from driveways, recording every tear, every outburst. For years, she had humiliated them, fined them for leaves, lectured them about standards. Now the same people whispered, "Guess those standards don't apply to her family. Karma's fast." Just like that car. Minutes crawled by. The helicopter's thumping blades moved farther north. The static from the police radio kept spitting updates, each one worse than the last. Suspect hit another vehicle. Minor damage. Still fleeing. Engine smoking. Driver ignoring all commands. Karen's tears streaked down her face. She dropped to her knees right there on her manicured lawn, whispering, "Please stop him. Please." I stood beside her, still watching the live feed on the news van. The camera zoomed in the Challenger wobbling, smoke pouring from the tires, the hood trembling. And then came the breaking moment. A second helicopter joined in, searchlights crossing over the road like twin blades of justice. "Anchor, helicopters are now in pursuit. We are witnessing the final moments of this high-speed chase." Karen sobbed, clutching her robe. They can't treat him like a criminal." I looked down at her, my voice low, calm. "Karen, he is one." The silence that followed was deafening. A cop rushed toward the news van, yelling, "We've got visual confirmation of a crash. Send medics." The screen flickered, the Challenger spinning, metal sparking against the divider, smoke filling the frame, then stillness. Dispatch. Suspect in custody. Repeat, suspect in custody. No fatalities. Relief and shame collided in Karen's face. She didn't know whether to cry or scream. She tried to speak, but nothing came out, just the faint sound of her breathing, broken and shallow. I turned away, staring down the empty street as dawn finally broke over the roofs. The neighborhood was quiet again, but it wasn't the same. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, the kind of quiet that follows an explosion. As the last police car pulled away, I saw the neighbors, once afraid to cross her, now standing tall, united by one thought: the Queen had fallen, and the empire she built on control was finally crumbling, one crack at a time. The world moved in slow motion that morning. Helicopters circled over the highway, smoke rising in the pale orange light of dawn. The chase that began in our quiet HOA neighborhood had ended miles away, live on every screen, every radio, every feed. And Maplewood Estates would never be the same again. The footage replayed for hours, the Challenger spinning out in a storm of sparks and dust, the left tire blown, the door ripped off its hinges. Officers swarmed the wreck, guns drawn, voices echoing, hands where we can see them on the ground now. Tyler stumbled out, coughing, his face pale, his bravado gone. He looked nothing like the smirking kid who had once bragged about being untouchable. Now he was just another suspect, face down on the asphalt, handcuffed beneath the roar of helicopter blades. Back in Maplewood, silence hung heavy. The crowd that had gathered on Karen's lawn stood frozen, watching the live broadcast on every glowing phone screen. Then came the image that broke her, the one that would circle the internet for weeks. Her son being shoved into the back of a patrol car, crying. The anchor's voice calm, detached, merciless. The suspect, confirmed as Tyler Turner, son of local HOA president Karen Turner, has been taken into custody following a high-speed pursuit in a stolen Dodge Challenger. Karen let out a sound that wasn't quite a scream, not quite a sob, something raw and broken. She fell against the porch railing, eyes locked on the screen like she could rewrite what she saw if she stared hard enough. "That's not him," she whispered. "That's not my boy." But it was, and everyone knew it. Police tape cordoned off half her driveway as officers moved in to collect statements. Reporters surrounded the property. Cameras flashed, microphones shoved forward. "Mrs. Turner, is it true your son stole the car? Did the HOA have prior incidents with the victim? Do you think your power in the neighborhood influenced your son's behavior?" Karen pushed past them, voice trembling. "No comment. This is harassment. You people don't understand." But the truth was, everyone understood. For years, she had played judge and jury, controlling the lives of everyone on this street using her position to humiliate, fine, and threaten people into silence. And now, standing there surrounded by flashing cameras, her empire crumbled with every question. The neighbors didn't rush to defend her. They watched quiet, almost solemn, as justice did what they couldn't. Hours later, when the dust settled, I drove down to the impound lot. The Challenger sat there, scarred and dented but still alive, smoke-stained, one side scraped raw from the median. But when I brushed my hand over the hood, I could still feel it, the heartbeat of something that refused to die. An officer approached, clipboard in hand. "You're the owner, yeah?" I said quietly, "Or what's left of it." He nodded. "You're lucky. That kid was seconds away from flipping it. Could have been a different story." I looked through the windshield, shattered but intact. "You're right," I murmured. "Could have been worse for everyone." When I stepped outside, the morning light hit different. It wasn't calm, but it was honest. For the first time, Maplewood Estates felt real. The next few days were chaos. News vans camped outside the gates. HOA members resigned one by one. A petition began circulating demanding Karen's removal. She tried to fight it at first: emails, emergency meetings, even a press statement claiming media distortion. But it didn't matter anymore. The footage spoke louder than any excuse, and so did the truth. Within 2 weeks, the board voted her out, her position gone, her power gone. Her reputation shredded across every headline. HOA president's son leads police on wild chase in stolen car community in shock. Maplewood residents demand reform after years of abuse. When I saw her again, it was a month later. The for sale sign stood crooked in her yard. Her once flawless garden was overgrown, her porch empty. She was standing beside her car, boxes stacked around her, eyes hollow from sleepless nights. I almost walked past her, but she called out. I didn't know it would end like this. Her voice was soft, fragile, stripped of arrogance. I didn't turn. "It always ends like this, Karen. You just didn't see it coming." She looked down, whispering, "I just wanted order. I wanted control." I finally faced her. "You didn't want control. You wanted power, and now you've learned what it costs." She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Tears filled her eyes as she climbed into her car and drove off, the self-made queen leaving behind the ruins of her own empire. That night, I drove my Challenger again, repaired, repainted, reborn. It didn't sound the same, maybe a little rougher, a little angrier, but it was mine again. I took it slow through Maplewood's silent streets. No sirens, no flashing lights, no one watching from their windows, just the sound of an engine cutting through the cool night air, reminding the world that some things can't be taken forever. As I passed the empty house at the corner, the sold sign flapped in the wind. And for the first time since I'd moved there, the neighborhood actually felt like home. Because peace isn't about perfection. It's about freedom and sometimes Justice doesn't come in a courtroom. Sometimes it comes roaring down a highway at 120 miles per hour and lands right where it's meant to. I parked the Challenger in my driveway, killed the engine, and stared at the sunrise creeping over the rooftops. The light was soft, honest, unforgiving, and somewhere inside that silence I smiled, because in the end, everything she built on lies and control came crashing down under the weight of one truth. No empire, no matter how powerful, can outrun its own karma.